sincere welcome to the Q&R Code podcast with your twin co-hosts, Quinn and Riley.
I'm Riley. That's Quinn. And based off of who came wearing a sweat set today, you might think I'm the sick one of the duo, but actually it's the cutie in her linen dress and cowgirl hat that got gussied up for the pod. So now I am left as the cozy vibe.
The cozy vibe is so cute, and being sprinkled in with fresh spring tulips and whatever else is in that gorgeous bouquet does not hurt.
Hyacinth and pussy willow. I thought that was so cute. This was just a store arranged bouquet. I love that they added a couple sprigs of pussy willow in there.
Aw, I've always had such a fondness for pussy willow since we had some sprigs/branches always in our home growing up, and yes, I would cop a feel and be like, you are the softest little sweet little bean I have ever felt in my life.
Also, Quinn, throwback to Mom's jar of peacock feathers that used to live in the home that you would balance on your finger. You have to kind of watch the eye to try to balance it.
I remember as kids being like, how does Mom have these? Like,
yeah,
what?
Where are the
First
peacocks?
of all, peacocks are real? Like, really real? And I was like, astounded. I love the idea. 1 second, I'm going to let my Pinkerton outside. It's I guess you would say, very nice day here. Trying to embrace the nuance and complexity of the feeling of it being 80 degrees mid-March in the Denver area, which is very concerning, and being like, okay, gratitude, it's beautiful, there's tulips and daffodils coming up. I will say Pinkerton is like, let me outside to lay in the sun and pant. But typical day of her being in and out.
It is freezing here, but the heat wave is headed our direction, and that's supposed to change this weekend. This spring has been volatile weather across the country, and you know, spring is always a little up and down, but this level of fluctuation is certainly cause for concern. I'm going to just right up front and center say, today will be my peaceful podcast, because I have had the past several days this week just this simmering underwell of frustration. I have just felt so frustrated and so grumpy, and not really for distinct reasons that feel easy to point out, and I feel like that has been making me more frustrated because I'm like, there's nothing necessarily going on to make me feel this way, but I have also been trying to not focus on that feeling and just kind of acknowledge that's there, that's okay, I'm allowed to feel that way. It's just a few days, but when I think about it, I think that, you know, we have several things going on in our life, as we talked about last week, that are stressful and upsetting, and then add on top of it that I had a whirlwind travel weekend that was a little wild.
Up
with
at
a very
3 in the morning.
Yes, and not good sleeps starting it off. And also on my 3 in the morning airport day was the first day of my period, so I think that it's probably just a perfect little storm to cause that. But I was like, our episode last week was so good for me, and just thinking about how healing it is to feel like you have you know, tools in your tool belt to balance your emotions, and then was just like, well, and immediately following this, I am feeling like such a grump, like anything could piss me off, and Not that that's out the window, but I was just like, this is the complexities of life.
Yeah, I think that it's very important, even though we love and appreciate the happiness, joy, gratitude moments, peace, calm, all of that. I don't think that that insinuates to ignore or like jump over or shun the maybe more opposite side of things, feelings of frustration, sadness, anger. I think it's doing a disservice to not let yourself feel deeply on across the whole spectrum. I this morning listened to a podcast. I just found it. You guys know that Riley and I are very keen on learning more Indigenous wisdom, so I just found this podcast. I believe it's called Relentless Indigenous Woman, but I would need to double check. Anyway, the most recent episode, and so insightful. I would highly recommend a listen. I'll send it to you, Rai, but they're talking about being there for the shadow side of yourself as well, and how that is an important part of the work to, honor yourself and honor Mother Earth and everything. And I think that when you're in tune and know those things about yourself, you know that you're feeling frustrated right now, you know that you're at maybe your wit's end, it might feel like. I know you, and that you're not someone who's going to sabotage yourself. Sneak peek preview to us talking about Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. But I think doing the best you can to love and care for yourself through those feelings and get the sleep that you need to be caught up on, and to make sure you're staying super hydrated with water, and make sure you're releasing through some physical movement and exercise and time with Mother Earth. And I feel like it's just fair to embrace going through those sticky emotions, even when it is not a joyous time, and give yourself patience and grace and respect and understanding, because it is just as valid for you to feel that as to feel all the positive, warm feelings that we clearly prefer and want more of.
It is the year of the fire horse, as we know, and we need to be prepared for the intense energy waves that might bring. This is also the week that we find out where Brayden matched, and therefore I matched for residency. So I think with that, even though I'm not stressed about it, like I'm so confident in Brayden, that's just been a lot of energy and a lot of buzz, and there's so many events and social things happening this week related to the med school that then it's also, I think, just bringing up all the feelings of we're going to be moving very shortly, and not only is there a lot to do, but yeah, it's the close of a chapter in a big way. That this has been such a learning period in our lives, and I've been so grateful for our time spent here, and thank goodness that with this match, the highest likelihood is that I will be moving closer to Quinn, because that is the flame that keeps me going through all of it. Is just, I will, in a matter of months, live close to Quinn. And if I come back on the podcast next week and say that we matched to Oregon, that will be
Brayden will be living alone.
Yeah, That would be an extremely hard pill for me to swallow. Because, yeah, Brayden doesn't want to have to live alone, but that's the consequences.
But he might.
Oh my gosh. This morning we went to somebody that Brayden has been volunteering with, invited us out to their home, which is a little farmstead, and that really helped me start my day on the right foot because she has a bunch of chickens, a lot of goats. I do not know how many goats she had, but there's so many different types. Do you remember what they're called, Quinn? The type of goats that have the tiny little ears?
Oh.
I'm trying to remember. Maybe it'll come to me,
No,
but she told
they're
me.
so cool.
At first, from a distance, I was like, oh my gosh, those goats don't have ears. And she was like, they do, they're just little. And we walked over and they have these tiny little ears, not like Quinn's boar goats with the long floppies. She has some pullets that are around your girl's size, I would say. So I anticipate they'll start laying soon. They hadn't yet. But she had a couple of sheep. She had a mini donkey named Lula, who was so sweet. I just reaffirmed that I will be needing a mini donkey. She has such a nice little dorsal stripe like Jimbo across her shoulders and was such a lover girl. Also amazing at picking up her feet. The woman said, okay, you can tell that you're an animal person, because after having spent some time with her, tried picking up her feet because I was curious, does this little mini donkey stand for that? And she didn't care at all, but I will say she was also in her 20s. I think she's, doesn't have the sprightliness that a youngin' might have. But it was so much fun to just go and be with the animals. She had some little Nigerian dwarf goats that were really sweet and kept on using my legs as little head scratching posts. I didn't mind that. And she had a big old cow named Clara. She was only 3. She was so pretty. Just, the huge eyelashes, such a pretty nose. She was an Angus cross, but she mostly looked just like an Angus cow. I was just so grateful to be out there and getting to spend time with some little sweeties, and she had 2 very naughty ponies that we got to give some peppermints to.
Yeah, of all of the animals and equine I love and want in my herd, ponies are very, very low on the list, to be 100% with you.
I mean, they're obviously adorable because they are just tiny little equine, but I could immediately tell. I said, are those 2 naughty? And she was like, yes, and they were bullying the big horses.
Does she have kids?
Yes, but they're adult kids. They're
okay.
Up and out of the house, but she said that the ponies just ended up coming to her from people that didn't want them anymore, as will happen if you open your home to animals.
Yep. That's the only way I can see. I do not see myself pursuing them on my own, but that's lovely. I love you got to start your day that way, and it is just the best to be outside and with animals. That's my best anyway. Everyone has their own things that light them up, but for me that is just my absolute saving grace. That every day, that's how I start my morning and center myself.
Yeah, she said that she envisioned it being like a therapy farm when she started collecting the animals for people to come and just get to have that experience, even if they didn't own any animals. But she did it for a couple years, and the insurance was just so expensive, and that's a hard reality that in America you feel like, I'm not saying this is exclusive to America, I'm sure it's not, but it can be a litigious place because, I could see how someone gets hurt and they don't have health care you can kind of understand how that happens, but of course, I wish that if you wanted to open your home to something just to help people, you didn't have to worry that you might get sued because of an accident happens. And so she wasn't able to continue doing like field trips she was doing field trips for elementary school kids and stuff because of the insurance. And I'm glad that I got to have the experience because it was therapeutic, and I was, especially with Lula the mini donkey, just like, you are coming home with me, Lula. Let's go. She was so sweet. Oh, I could picture her fitting in with your herd so well. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe we'll tell Sean under the guise that it's your mini donkey, but we keep it.
My gosh.
What? I'm not going to be here for my family? Of course I am. I'm like, my family wants 3 more horses.
It's crazy because it's just like, I already love donkeys, and then you make them little pocket sized. Are you kidding me?
Also, imagine when a mini donkey is born.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
Okay, you're the size of stuffed animal.
Aww. Stop, I'll
They're
cry.
so cute, and then they get up on their little stilts and are like, whoa, but literally that day, within so quickly after being born.
She didn't bray at all, but I wonder if it just sounds like a big donkey or if it has a different sort of sound.
I don't know, but different donkeys have a little bit of different sounds. Like our donkey neighbors, it cracks me up now, especially having Jimbo. I mean, Annie has always been loud and she always brays multiple times throughout the day, but now it goes Annie and then Jimbo, which his sound, the mule bray is so funny. I love it. A lot of people hate it. I love it. And then you hear in the distant background from our neighbor donkeys. I'm like, hopefully people are just down for this because it's just a symphony of donk brays.
That is something I'm down for.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Quinn and Sean have had a little bit of a sickness, but this benefits us today because Quinn has been good about and also bad about not binging TV shows, and I have things to talk about with her, and it came to my attention that there was a new season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives out. So I have not finished it.
One of my favorite reality TV series, definitely, to be honest, and I know that some people are like, oh, I'm kind of over it, but I'm just not. I'm not over it. I like watching them. I'm invested in those women. I say that. I don't literally follow any of them on social media or anything, but even the fact that we do not have direct connections to them, but we, through other people that we do follow more closely and everything, and even just having like the Salt Lake connection and us growing up with multiple Mormon best friends and everything, like, I also think Mormon culture is just interesting, and women who are breaking the patriarchal norms in their culture, I like to me it's just interesting and
I also
not
feel
getting old.
I feel like they let you in on a lot of what's going on, particularly in their marriages and relationships, which is a very vulnerable thing to do, to show that just to show anything that could be construed as negative in a relationship is hard because you know that there's going to be judgment that comes with that. So I'm going to try, as I always think it's prudent to do, to discuss what's going on without the tone of it being a judgmental thing, because we know that we clearly are not in on the whole picture, and that's just not productive for people to be able to talk about what's going on in their lives and relationships. If they feel like to share that is just going to receive a lot of judgment, I think that that's a problem in the LDS church, and they have been open about that as well. How to just explore these topics comes with a lot of risk in terms of culturally, family, your community, how that's going to
the internet,
the
obviously,
whole internet commenting on it.
They've all been so deeply internet bullied. And also, if anyone was part of a reality television series or had their day-to-day or life being filmed, there could be room for judgment on the best of people. Like, we all have the shared understanding that humans are not perfect beings. We have bones in our body that aren't... That's... Animals, so wholesome, so sweet. They do not have malintent with anything they do. And humans clearly have a bit of a different brain wiring and some things that cause a little more chaos and drama.
And also, just thinking about with our podcast, putting out an hour of conversation every week, I already feel like I hope that people can understand that we try to be thoughtful, put our best foot forward, but sometimes it is just not as eloquent or perfected as you wish it was when you are on camera doing a recording. I think that if I were to sit down for a confessional in a reality show, I would end up feeling so stupid and like, oh my gosh,
Shudder at the thought.
I can't believe that that's the wording I chose or how it came across. It's all in all not a very organic experience. So with that being said, overarching takeaway, again, I haven't finished the series, but just feeling starting out, why I would also like to approach things from a non-judgmental lens is I think that a lot of the characters, I guess I should say cast members, are striving to unlearn some of the judgment that they were brought up with, but there is a very strong culture of judgmental behavior going on with them that can be one of the hardest aspects for me about the dynamics, because I do think that there is an earnest attempt from people to be there for each other. I think that they actually want to be a supportive friend group. I think that they are making moves towards that direction, but I still do feel like there can be a double standard in terms of what is said, like they feel and value, and then how people act towards one another, and it just can make me feel bummed and stressed out sometimes that they say, for example, the Whitney situation of her not coming back from Dancing with the Stars from LA to go to this book signing in Utah. She was going to come and be there for one night. I can understand how it might hurt your feelings if you want your friends to show up with you for you to your book event and they don't come, but it just, everyone dogpiles immediately in the sense of, okay, so she doesn't want to be a friend to you. This is showing you that, like, if she wanted to be an actual friend to you, if she actually cared, then she would be able to be here for you in this moment. And perspective is the best thing, because we just saw that Whitney is clearly at the end of her leash. She is a mom of young kids, a newborn, extremely busy in these rehearsals, taking on more in her career, traveling back and forth. She seemed like she was actually at the breaking point and something had to give, and that was something that she could easily, accessibly take off her plate. And it was not, to me, with any sort of a malintent that then was just assumed. Like, okay, so this is sending a message. I'm like, oh my gosh. I just really hope that the friends and people in my life that I know who I am and understand that I will do my best to show up for them, while also realizing I won't be able to show up for anyone if I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah. Something I'm really trying to live by is acceptance of other people, and not I've gone through so much of life trying to understand people from my lens of what I hold, the standards I hold myself to. And I'm really trying to deconstruct and let that just kind of fade away, because if we are going to hold people to our own personal standards, there's just never going to be peace and like true acceptance and understanding. Everyone has their own story that's informed by, their past, their present, their upbringing, their parents, their culture, etc., etc. And I think in that moment, those judgments probably came more from their internal judgments and their standards of what they're holding themselves to, instead of just coming from a compassionate, understanding lens of, we've all been to the point before where it feels like a true breaking point and we need to take something off of our plates. And yeah, Whitney, even in that moment, was like, I am worried because I have not showed up for Macy in a time before when she wanted me to for an important event, so she felt so guilty. But at that moment, like, she just had to make the best decision for herself. And I can see the side of where it's like that all the other women are saying, we're all overworked, we're all stretched thin, we're all so busy, and that is true. And also, you are all empowered to make your own decisions of what you're committing to. And I personally, being someone that, like, an additional social event can definitely be a tipping point for me if I'm already, like, up to the brim in responsibilities or feeling overworked. That, yeah, I definitely understood having to make that choice. But it sucks. It's like, this fall didn't go to one of my friends' weddings because of the time period it was and the amount of commitments we had around it. And the day of the wedding came and I just felt so, I knew I was already disappointed having to RSVP that we weren't coming. Like, it was a horrible feeling, but I just felt like, what other things can I sacrifice in this time? The amount of money it would take, all of, the factors that travel and everything bring. And so there are moments where it's like, yeah, it's not at all like I was like, oh, I don't really feel like I'm missing out. I felt devastated that day. I was honestly like, I am so disappointed. I'm so sad. I'm going to miss out. This is an event that is a once in a lifetime thing. She's so happy with this person that's going to be her forever person. I am having severe FOMO, which I do not usually have, but you have to just understand that in life there are moments you just genuinely cannot say yes to everything. And hopefully that made her feel like grounded, like she could show up and be the better version of herself in the commitments that she did have to keep.
Yeah, that is just the hard thing in life. Is actually the case that you cannot do it all, or something will have to give. And there are certain things that you have to decide are non-negotiable, and for everyone it's different, but I think that we all should be prioritizing our physical health, our mental health, and then of course when you're a mom and a partner, if you're someone like Quinn that has your animals, all of these things that you are like, this isn't just a one-day commitment, this is an always commitment. And when I can make it work, I really want to. And it's not being a less reliable person if you sometimes have to say no. I think that it's showing like you can rely on me to be honest when the answer is yes and when the answer is no, because I Yeah, I think we can all give each other grace. That was one example there, but the continued patterns that we see with Taylor and her family make me so sad because clearly they are feeling stuck in this cycle that is not productive for her. Taylor is a part of it, her mom is a part of it, her stepdad's a part of it. We, at least in the episodes I've seen, we haven't really seen her dad in as much of the conversation, but we have in previous seasons. And I think that with Taylor's sister, Aspen, I believe is her name, you can tell that I think she is trying to be there for both her mom and her sister and kind of like facilitate that. I think they all do love and care about each other. That doesn't mean that you can't be hurting each other in the meantime. And I think that it reveals a lot about how Taylor shows up in her personal life by seeing that relationship that she has with her mom.
Well, and I don't know if you've got to the part where Taylor is seeking some peace and understanding, and Macy brings up the point of, thinking about the generational trauma. And I do think that's, even though Taylor deserves a mom that's doing her best, I think that Leanne is doing her best, and that unfortunately there is not a generational history of truly supporting and being non-judgmental and like a very healthy parent-child dynamic, and it just takes time and generations to heal cycles like that. And it's so disheartening and sad to watch when parents and their adult children are just so unaligned and having just like very immature communication with each other. It's so frustrating to watch, but it's sad because obviously Taylor is trying to include her mom in her life, and her mom loves Taylor unconditionally, but is so frustrated by her decisions, and also, of course, the framework of the church being a part of this. And Leanne is probably grasping at straws for how to be aligned with what she thinks is right morally based on her religious framework and being a supportive mom unconditionally. It is tricky and complicated, and but it is. I feel so much for Taylor because she is in this horrible toxic cycle with Dakota where they really bring out the absolute worst in each other, and it is just such proof to me of that, like, just having lust and being in love and being so, like, having such a deep spark, and that with someone is just not the reason to be with them. I think about relationships I've had in the past and my relationship with Sean, and I always had, like, attraction to Sean, and I always felt excited and like I love him. I am definitely attracted to him, but it definitely is something with us that has grown. It's like stronger now after 3.5 years of marriage than it was when we were in our complete honeymoon stage of those feelings of lust and desire and the spark. Like, I have grown that actually over time, and it's not to say it's not even about a matter of frequency of having sex or anything like that, but the feelings of like longing for someone and deeply desiring someone. I think it's, as far as I can tell right now in the stage of life I'm at, the conclusion I've come to thus far is when that is the groundwork and that is the principal connection, is just the like fiery excitement, fireworks, lust, it's probably not going to be the most stable and mature and kind and supportive relationship, and it's so complicated when a child is involved. And I mean, I can think of examples of relationships that I've witnessed from people in my life. And one thing I will say that I have loved this season is I feel like there's more babies than ever in this season. And it's actually really exciting and fun for me because I am not at the stage where like a ton of my friends have kids. I have one good friend with several kids, which it makes me so sad that we live as far apart as we do, because I'm like, I want to see those babies and the kids and see how they, are as they age and everything. But that's so fun for me, getting to see how kids are part of the dynamic with a friend group. Like sometimes I would just think, oh, like wouldn't the babies be left home? But like, have you seen the pickleball tournament?
Yes, I just saw that.
And I'm like, oh, there's just all these babies. Like, that's so fun and exciting to me. And I'm not even getting into the thing about like babies being filmed or kids being a part of that, but the fact is they are in this case. And I definitely enjoy seeing that there's like the community and friend group and nurturing around each other's babies.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be in the category of a positive thing in the LDS culture, is that I think it can be a detriment that there's so much emphasis on babies and people having kids, and that is a high expectation. But because people expect that they're going to be surrounded by people with kids, I feel like there's a lot of positivity around it, and there's not that feeling of like, oh, you're gonna bring your kid. I feel like they all know they have lots of kids to juggle, and they're often like picking up each other's baby, helping all take care of it. It's not like that's your kid, that's your responsibility. It's like more of a communal parenting where they all know they all have kids, so they all know what it's like and what it takes, and especially with a newborn, how much exhaustion there might be with that. And I feel like it feels very natural for all of them to just pitch in, not mind having the kids around. And even though it can be sometimes chaotic because they all have 3 kids or whatever, with a lot of them, they're a fun part of the show. And I also like that this season is seeing a little bit more, particularly with the LA boys, with Connor and Zach stepping up to more of a stay-at-home dad role than either of them had before. Well, their wives have been in that position in the past, I think is a really good thing to see, not only just normalizing that expectation that it's not just moms that care for kids, but also I think for me, something that I was remembering is it can feel a little frustrating when the guys say, oh my gosh, like this is so much work, I don't feel like I have time for myself, all of these realizations they're having. But then I think that's an important reminder for me when we are critical of men not understanding that how could they truly understand that when that has not been part of most of their consciousness before. They weren't raised where that was modeled to them. We're still, as a society, relatively new to the idea that it's not just women that are the caretakers and wants to stay at home. Think about actually how recent of history it is that women in the United States were even empowered to go out and get jobs. And even when that was happening, there was like a long period of time where it's been very contentious, and this is still pretty new. So even though as women, I think it can feel really frustrating to be like, this is old news, this has been happening forever, why aren't you on board with this, why don't you understand? That's another place where we can practice compassion and know that your perspective is informed only by your own experiences, worldview, what you were raised with. As much as it sucks, we are not out of the woods of misogyny. We are not through this period of time where men and women are just treated as equal. And so I think that there has to be encouragement and patience and grace with that, because I don't want feminism to be set back by the normalization of people speaking down to men. That kind of is controversial, which it shouldn't be, hilarious to say, but I think that this goes on also in the Secret Life of Mormon Wives. It goes on in a lot of circles, and believe me, I understand where it comes from, but to say men are trash, men are losers, to speak in generalizations like that, I think is so counterproductive, because it's clearly not okay that men often still do speak that way about women and are belittling to women. That's not a thing of the past, but I think that we are more aware and on edge for guys speaking like that, which we should be, and women are valid to feel like they have felt in bad positions because of men for a long time, and have felt and continue to feel scared and belittled and all of these things that, of course, can cultivate a negative feeling. I'm not trying to be in here like not all men. We know that there's nuance to this conversation, but just in general, that sort of speech that just is so polarizing and negative, I think is ultimately unproductive and hurtful, and not something that I want to model. And I hope that in our podcast, when we're having more nuanced discussions about the experience of being a woman, because that's what Quinn and I have experienced, and experiencing sexism in daily life and all those things, it can come from a place of also having grace and understanding for the process of change, that I can have a desire for things to move quickly, because we have a vision of what is right and what is just, but I don't think that desire should move into frustration that then moves into like meanness and negativity and just things that I don't even resonate with. I obviously don't think that men are just trash, you know?
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of the principle that our parents raised us by, which is 2 wrongs don't make a right. And it can be very easy to feel like fighting fire with fire. And again, oh my gosh, like there's so many conditions and nuance to this. And I don't propose that I have the absolutely correct way to think about this and go about it, but I think that you can hold men to a very high standard and be honest and be both like considerate, patient, kind, nurturing, and realistic, have high expectations, up front and straightforward, and there's a balance there. Sean and I were watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives together, and we were talking about the scene with Zach feeling so frustrated about like his light having to be dimmed a little bit because he's being the full-time stay-at-home parent, and he's frustrated and says the comment about like he'll never be mom and he's just not nurturing in the same way, and it just sparked Sean and I talking about feminism, and me saying the root of the feminist movement is, once again, it's equality. It's what's better for men and women. It is not about, like, you're welcome, because women could just be saying, we're going to fully overthrow this. We want to be the ones fully rising to power to oppress men. And it could be a tit for tat situation like that. But rather what feminism is begging is equality between men and women. So it is truly what's best for both. And a cycle of reciprocity and support for both sides and an understanding of both sides. And right now it is like, where the scales are maybe having to tip and there's a little bit of a swing with things like we hate all men and that type of stuff that maybe is a little more intense than what the actual goal is. And we see things have to sometimes swing a little bit past to find their way back to center and be aligned in what our actual goal is. And I do think that women are being brave to have very strong and strict conversations with men where it is like, yeah, I can't just like baby you and coddle you into the understanding of what misogyny and patriarchy and the inequalities between men and women looks like. There does have to be I can be both loving and strict and serious at the same time and demand for equality in our relationship and be like, yeah, I do understand that you're not going to be able to overturn this framework overnight, but I do expect that you are making steps toward it every day and that you are having the overarching, the what's it called, upward trend toward arriving there.
Definitely. I also think that anger is justified in a lot of ways for being like, oh, this is hard for you. Yeah, guess what? Guess what it's been like for us this entire time. Believe me, that energy is understandable, but I know how absolutely rip-roaring pissed off I would be at any of these men if they sat in their confessional and said women are trash. So just trying to have a fair perspective there. And what else did I want to cover? I hate Jordan. Anyway, I'm like, we should have nuance. One particular thing I'll point out that is pissing me off about Jordan is he keeps on referencing like how much therapy he's gone to. I'm like, there's not a quantity of therapy or hours under your belt that gives you any sort of right to act like, therefore, I'm either healed or I have a upper hand in this. He's said multiple times to Jessie about how he's done more therapy than she has. I'm like, well, clearly you have a lot more to learn because maybe you've done that therapy and it's not clocking to you, or you're needing a new therapist that can hold you more accountable, or you're needing to unpack a lot more of these things. I don't know what it is, but it's been frustrating to me that he has referenced like how I've done all this, and I'm like, and that's great. I'm glad that you're putting work into becoming a better person. That doesn't mean that you have arrived. Clearly you haven't. And I don't think that is something to wager against anyone, or that you get to wear as a silk banner to show anything. Of course, therapy is a good thing. I'm not saying that it's insignificant. I do think that that's important. I'm glad that he's doing that, but that behavior just really irks me.
I'm very proud of Jessie for pursuing the conversation about her taking back her maiden name, because I think that's completely fair, and I think it's fair for Jordan to have feelings about that, and it could definitely hurt to be like, I haven't
seen this.
Oh, sorry, it's been talked about before on the interviews and stuff with her like a long time ago, and I think she is, as of a while ago, going by Jessie Draper, because I don't even know what Jordan's last name is. Apparently it's hard to pronounce, easy to mess up thing. I genuinely don't know what it is, sorry, but I think that's very brave of her to be in pursuit of that for like her business's interest, and because she wants to feel like it's maybe a little bit tiptoe. She's maybe making some steps that would make her feel more prepared and secure if it does result in divorce, which it's like, Jordan, you're keen on the fact that this might result in divorce. It's been very openly spoken about on the table that they very well may be on their way to a divorce, and I think that it's brave of her, even when he is, I'll just let you wait and see how you feel about what he thinks about that proposal. Anyhow,
Well,
happy springtime, people.
happy spring. I was just going to recommend, if anyone wants to get more of a deep dive into this, I know Haley Rawl over on Girls Camp is going to do a comprehensive breakdown. Maybe she has already. I have purposefully not wanted to listen until I finish watching, but she has the ex-Mormon perspective as well, and I always enjoy her breakdowns. She's so nuanced and well-spoken. I do feel less frustrated after this episode, just getting to sit down and talk to my best ever buddy. I hope that you get to see some blooms this week that bring you joy, and thank you for your support for Quinn and I airing our thoughts. We really often say to each other, we love doing the podcast.
Enjoy Riley's sweet little background while it lasts, because a change is coming. Speaking of, if you guys need a very powerful song, and as if this is like a revelation or something, but just a reminder, A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke.
So good.
Listen to that. And listen to Jennifer Hudson sing,
Yes.
I was born by the river. She's so good.
To be able to sing like her, you could never stop me.
No.
You already can't.
And how she story tells while she's singing, I'm like, do not like nod at me like this, and I'm like, I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
Not that I understand the Black experience, I'm not saying that, but I'm just like, you are storytelling.
You are making me feel everything. We will talk to you guys next week. Goodbye.